So, how are you? I'm back after the break. So, I wrapped everything into a function. I'll explain to you what I did. I wrapped my serializer file into a function, which made it look like this. Then, since it's a TX, let me just open. So, this is what I did. Let me zoom back. So, yeah. So, I wrapped the whole serializer into function and then I exported everything as a function hook. So it made it easy actually to just extract the creator, which have created for me all those functions and return them into here for me. So after, now over here, as you can see, we cannot get anything. Even if we type, we're not getting the colors because there is no configuration sets. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove this, go back to the project. Let me just, because I have, go back to the project. Over here, I'll cancel log first this one so I can see what I am getting out after upload. Am I getting the function or not? Upload, apply. As you can see, we're not getting any error. So cancel log. We get an object array and you can see what's inside. So that's mean the function is there because it's a function. So this is the object of the function itself. So it's perfect. We have in the function, it's there. You don't need to read them as now you're seeing them over here. As you can see, we have functions being toggled. I added also a loader and a TS, which I didn't show you. Now I can show them to you. TS function, which is just a normal function with compile option, which is ts model kind.js, and then target ts script, the target of the model itself. And you can choose between the model depending what you have in your script. At the end, it will give you the result, which is output text, which would be the text itself. Then we take the text, we passed it to this function because this function take the code, the first one that we took, then we pass it to the serialize function over here, compile, we get the text model which has the export. We define model, export, and then define new function which has a model and then an export and a J text, which is the text passed to the compiler. And then we put a function which is the fn new function for each model, and then model export, which is the function itself of create, which is our model of create, and then it's export. Then we return in the export itself. Now, that would be it. So that's the two functions. After that, I call the function over here, but I still didn't add my engine and still didn't save my engine. And still gonna need to load it back again when needed. So the way it's gonna be, we're gonna save our model. I can access the model from here, or I can actually say into the config, which is gonna be the engine itself. Instead of I can saving the config within the model over here, I can actually add serializer. This is also an option. Sorry. Now I can add serializer here and say content. Then if I open, I'm gonna say, let me first describe the content. So I can always get those contents exactly. So first one would be this, second one would be config, and then which is config ts serializer, package. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth file. Let me just see config.ts. Okay, there is a JSON config and TS config, which is the fifth file. My apologies. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll keep the source down. What I can do now, I can say type now I'm gonna add this. I'm just gonna define the types of those files. Until here, that should be enough. One is config.json. I see that I put it to tx. I'm gonna remove ts and add JSON file. Now file engines, which have been defined as now here. Now if I click, I can define GS, and over here source, just missing this one. Now we're gonna get serializer over here, which make it accessible for us. I may actually remove the add because it's loading already into the cache itself. So what I can do is I can keep these two functions, but not here. And actually, instead of expanding too much code into the model and having to save multiple things, I'll use just the pull engine and set the serializer. And instead of having add, because you're gonna need them both at the same time. So I'd rather have the serializer added with the package itself. So once you add the engine, it's already within the engine. You could call your serializer within the engine itself. So give me 1 sec. Just gonna go to the setting and let me see. serializer, set serializer, and add serializer. So we're gonna remove this one, which is add. No, I might actually pull back before here. So what I'm doing is I'm removing the loop since I don't need to loop 2 times and I don't need to store things in 2 locations. I just gonna use my engine as it was, and I'm gonna remove all of those added menus, like this one over here, which I don't need, and serializer. I'm gonna keep this. Now, jumping to this point where, yeah, I'm gonna add just serializer here. Now, over here we loaded the engine, and we say that load engine, press init cache, which will give us the cache back. Which, if we remember, this is the config, so it's gonna be loaded into the engine. So what I can do is create a const serializer set. I'm just gonna add this. Let me look just at engine first, which is type of config, which has missing few things. It's missing underlying source. put it as any at the moment. And then we have our serializer. We may need to add this. We need also to add this here. Oh, sorry. Here. On this one. And let me just put back serializer because it's what's causing the error, defining an error. In some screen not able to use it, like in here. If we look, it is the setting which we have added. I'm missing an L, that's why. Sorry for that. My mistake. Yes. And here, the error is coming because of the dash config, the dash source. If I go back to types, when project expand, they're actually hard to track. Sometimes you don't recall actually where you have added things. Source could be any. So here we have, I'm gonna call function. Just call it back from here. Then calling it back here. Earth file. So you're gonna get the item press in it, which is okay. If document that, if item, which is an object. Let us first cancel log. Our loading to know what we're gonna have inside, so we can look for, and we'll add this here. Now let me check. just check over here. We're gonna remove the engine, load it one more time, close, then apply, then we're gonna do let's see, cancel load, and we're gonna check. This is our object engine. So this is the whole config inside our first array. So it's just one array, but we put it as an object. So the way it's gonna be, oh no, sorry, I didn't load yet. As I said, it's the first array. So if we put it at 0, now we get the array. So next to the array, we're gonna call our serializer, which is a text dot serializer. Now we should get the text as you see, and we're navigating inside the data to map it. Now what I'm gonna do is pull back the function as this, and then we're gonna give it this coordination, for example, and instead of source, I'm removing source, and I'm gonna just call back the function, because with TypeScript, once you don't use import, it does take it off. Then I'll set the serializer, and it should be working. Before that, I'll demonstrate to you that it's not working, then I'll show you that it's working. So we're gonna mute this at the moment. Now let's test. So our serializer float, apply, perfect. Just gonna wait for it. So in here, if you click, it's not gonna be adding nothing, because it's not actually yet reading the serializer. So once we're gonna add this like this, and we remove this, and we save, refresh back again. We don't need to upload back the folder because it's auto loading from the cache. Now if I click and I do function, it's been added. So now it's reading the file through the engine folder structure that we have built and we have structured. Now we access those folders, not folders, but that string, and the string, and then convert it back to a model, and then we take the function and use it. A bit complex, but it's easy once you get the hang of it. Now our visual is working. We can actually call title. So if we add a boolean and we add another boolean, they should be joined as this. There is actually one thing I've been missing. So I think it's the config. Perhaps I have put it the wrong one. Let me double check my history on serializers. Okay. Okay. gonna be a bit tricky, but I still have the same structure functions. Bear with me one sec. I'll just try to replace this with this one. I'm just gonna remove just the import and that would be it. Also function export will become just function. Let's remove this one. Oh, didn't go. Bear with me one sec. Let me just check the history of this one too. I might actually have it up. I think it's this one. But there's not much difference between this one and the previous one, so actually there is a big difference here. I'll try this one. Right now I'll pick this version here. Choose like this. I'll paste it here. Then I'll just I'll just open this one, sorry, not this one. Just close all of this. And because I have a version that I fixed all of those issues, so I don't want to run again through the functions, debug again. It take a while, like I said earlier. So I'm just gonna repeat what I did here. And you're missing the export. So let me just return that. Take the exporter for now. Should be working perfectly. And if I go back, I'm gonna have to remove again the old engine, replace it with the new one. Engine is validated. Let me remove this. New function. I still have all error on the old engine, so it's the wrong version. Let me double check. Maybe I have actually copied. I may have actually copied, sorry, my mistake. I may have actually copied the wrong one. Let's remove those notes. Okay. This is less functions. I don't know what we have group parameter over here, but it's not actually being grouping. It's where it should be grouped. So I'm gonna have to put it back. Group parameter. It should be as this. Usually if I put another boolean, it should group them, but it's not doing it correctly. Anyway, we're gonna put back, so we're gonna remove this one again. It should be a slight difference between the two. And we gotta check. It is the group function, not actually related. Not actually being called, maybe not. Let me just double check. My unified code, visual code. So visual, it's not having it. Render statement, not having it. Let me just make sure. Should be called. So yeah, this is where we missing it into our serializer moved. So as I said, this is just the version. This is the correct version is here. So it's good to have backups from time to time. So let us look at our serializer in our under VS Code and open the serializer. Let's look at the function serialize body. Now what I can do is just replace it with this one and just double check if range, if actually this one have cases, but but it's a new serializer, so it's this one here. New serializer. Let me see, receive primes in over here, primes, get primes, then in here where we call the primes at the end of the function. So I don't need primes is row. Because it's returning it as a string, so it would be actually better to map this first as this, and then after mapping it, we're gonna say, sorry, I'm gonna put everything back. I'm gonna take back the new prime because it seems like this is the new code. Okay, so should be as this. No, should be as this. So in here we're gonna row prime. Okay, prime is equal row prime dot map. Okay, and here I'm gonna put prime, and it's equal prime map. Now after map, we're gonna put it as there is gonna be a string anyway, so I'm just gonna put it there as this. Should be working. There's a type string. So I'm not gonna join it. I'm gonna remove join and I'm gonna keep it as this. Now in here I'm gonna look for primes, which was here. Just double check that I have it. Perfect. Now I'm just gonna remove this serializer because it's actually incorrect. Now if I come back over here, load, update, load, line, add function, boolean, boolean, you're missing the names. So I will do and take this one. Now let me remove this one. Should be not working. There's the place of a name is missing. I can add it and click name, but try to have correct one. So function is put in primary, but is missing it's missing the linked, which is the name. And here we're just gonna add a node name. So I'm just gonna have a quick break. I'll be back.